Hello, and welcome to another episode of Read With Me, the financial freedom part. Okay, if you don't know, now you know. My name is Isabel. I'm one of the founders here at Billionaireette. We read 2 books a month, and this month, for the financial literacy, financial freedom part, we are diving into the Cashflow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. And what's really powerful is that the last couple of chapters that we've been reading have been really transformational. We're on chapter 7, Becoming Who You Are. Oof. Becoming who you are. It's about to get lit. If you haven't checked out chapter 6, he went over some intense stuff where, honestly, if you didn't know, your house is someone else's asset, not yours. And he breaks it down to the T, to even the interest that you actually pay over time. So if you wanted to get those numbers, if you want to get those facts, check out the last video because you might be mind blown. So without further ado, let's get into chapter 7, Becoming Who You Are. The real issue is the changes you must go through and who you become in the process. It's not being homeless that matters, my rich dad said. It's about who you are. Keep striving and you'll become somebody. Quit and you'll also become somebody, but not the same person. Strong. The changes you go through. For those of you contemplating going from job security to financial security, all I can offer you are words of encouragement. Okay, so for Kim and me, it took being homeless and desperate before I found the courage to move forward. That was our path, but it definitely doesn't have to be your path. As I described earlier, there are ready-made systems that can help you cross the bridge to the right side of the cash flow quadrant. The real issue is the change you must go through internally and who you become in the process. For some people, the process is easy. For others, the journey is impossible. Money is a drug. Rich Dad always said to Mike and me, hey, money is a drug. The main reason he refused to pay us while he worked for him was because he never wanted us to become addicted to working for money. If you become addicted to money, it's hard to break that addiction. When I called him from California as a grown man to ask him for money, he wasn't about to break a pattern he started with me years before. He didn't give us money as kids, and he wasn't about to start that now. Instead, he continued to be tough and guide me away from the addiction of working for money. He called money a drug because he observed people who were happy when they had money and upset or moody when they didn't. Just as heroin addicts get high when they inject the drug, they also get moody and violent when they don't have it. So be careful of money's addictive power, he often said. Once you get used to receiving it, that addiction keeps you attached to the way you got it. Put it in another way. If you receive money as an employee, then you get accustomed to that way of acquiring it. If you get used to generating money by being self-employed, it's often difficult to break the attachment to earning money in that way. And if you get used to government handouts, that too is a hard pattern to break. The hardest part about moving from the left side to the right side is the attachment you have to the way you are used to earning money. Let me repeat that. The hardest part about moving from the left side to the right side is the attachment you have to the way that you were used to earning that money. It's more than breaking a habit, it's breaking an addiction. That's why he stressed to Mike and me to never work for money. He insisted we learn to create our own systems as a way of acquiring money. patterns. For Kim and me, the hardest part in trying to become people who generate income in the B and I quadrants was that all of our past conditioning was holding us back. It was tough when friends said, "Why are you doing this? Why don't you just get a job?" It was even more difficult because there was a part of us that also wanted to go back to security of a paycheck. Rich Dad explained to Mike and me that the world of money was one large system, and we as individuals must learn how to operate in certain patterns within that system. An E works for the system, an S is the system, a B creates, owns, and controls the system, and an I invests money into the system. The pattern Rich Dad was also talking about was the pattern we naturally gravitate to when it comes to money. When a person feels the need for money, Rich Dad explained, an E will automatically look for a job. An S often will do something alone. And B will create or buy a system that produces money. And I will look for an opportunity to invest in an asset that produces more money. Why it's hard to change a pattern. This is why. The reason it's hard to change a pattern is because money today is essential for life. In the agrarian age, money wasn't that important because the land could provide food, shelter, warmth, and water without money. Once we moved into cities during the industrial age, money signified life itself. Today, even water costs money, said Rich Dad. He went on to explain that when you begin to move from, let's say, the E quadrant to the B quadrant, the part of you that is addicted to being an E or afraid that life will end begins to kick and fight back. It's like a drowning person beginning to fight for air, or a starving man who will eat anything to survive. It's this internal battle that makes it so hard. The struggle between who you no longer are and who you want to become is the problem. Rich Dad explained to me over the phone that the part of you that still seeks security is in a war with the part of you that wants freedom. Only you can decide which will win. You will either build that business or you'll go back to finding a job forever. Wow. This is probably the most intense part of it all. And he clearly has a way of saying it very, very well. It's really, really, really important. Find your passion. Do you really want to move forward? Asked Rich Dad. Yes, I said hurriedly. Have you forgotten what you sent out to do? Have you forgotten about your passion and what caused you to get into the predicament in the first place? Asked Rich Dad. Oh, well, I replied, a little startled. I had forgotten, actually. I stood there at the payphone, clearing my head so I could remember what got me into this mess in the first place. I knew it, said Rich Dad. I knew it. His voice booming over the phone. You're more worried about your own personal survival than keeping your dream alive. Your fear has pushed aside your passion. The best way to keep going is to keep the flame in your heart alive. Always remember what you are set out to do, and the trip will be easy. Start worrying more about yourself, and your fear begins to eat away your soul. Passion builds business, not fear. You've come this far, you're close, so don't turn back now. Remember what you set out to do, keep that memory in your heart, and keep that flame going. You can always quit, so why quit now? With that, Rich Dad wished me luck and hung up the phone. He was correct. I had forgotten why I set out on this journey. I had lost my dream and allowed my fears to fill my head, as well as my heart. I had forgotten my passion. It was now time to make it happen or go back home and forget about it. I stood there for a while and Again, I heard Rich Dad's last words. You can always quit. So why quit now? I decided to delay quitting until I made things happen. Wow. That whole paragraph is so strong. Becoming a teacher who owned the system. My fears and lack of success were beating me. My dream had been pushed aside. My dream was to create a different kind of school system, an educational program for people who want to become entrepreneurs and investors. I stood there, my mind drifted back to high school. When I was 15, my high school guidance counselor asked me, "Hey, what are you going to do when you grow up? Are you going to become a teacher like your dad?" Looking straight at my counselor, my answer was straightforward, strong, and filled with conviction. I'll never be a teacher. Becoming a teacher is the last thing I would ever do. I didn't just dislike school, I hated it. I absolutely hated being forced to sit and listen to someone I didn't particularly like or respect speak for months on a subject I had no interest in. I fidgeted, I squirmed, caused problems in the back of the room, or simply just skipped class. So when my guidance counselor asked me if I was planning to seek a career as a teacher following in my father's footsteps, I nearly jumped out of my skin. Little did I know at the time that passion is a combination of love and hate. I loved learning, but I hated school. I absolutely detested sitting there and being programmed into becoming something I did not want to be. I was not alone. Put it in the comments if you feel the same way. Like, when you were in school, did you feel like this? Like, I hated sitting there and listening to crap that I did not care about. Okay? Terrible. I'm so with what he just mentioned. Notable quotes on education. Winston Churchill once said, "Personally, I'm always ready to learn, although I do not always like being taught." John Updike said, "The founding fathers in their wisdom decided that children were an unnatural strain of their parents, so they provided jails called schools, equipped with tortures called education." Norman Douglas said, "Education is the state-controlled manufacture of echoes." Education is the state-controlled manufacture of echoes. Strong. H.L. Mencken said, "School days, I believe, are the unhappiest in the whole span of human existence. They are full of dull, unintelligible tasks, new and unpleasant ordinances, and brutal violations of common sense and common decency." Galileo said, "You cannot teach a person anything. You can only help him find it within himself." Mark Twain said, "I never let schooling interfere with my education." That's good. Albert Einstein said, "There's too much education altogether, especially in American schools." A gift from my educated dad. The person who shares these quotes with me was a very highly educated but poor dad. He also despised the school system, although he thrived in it. He became a teacher because he also dreamed of changing the system, but instead the system crushed him. He took his passion, tried to change the system, and ran into a brick wall. It was a system that too many people were making money in, and no one wanted it changed. Although there was a lot of talk about the need for change, maybe my guidance counselor was psychotic, because years later, I did indeed follow in my father's footsteps. I just didn't follow him into the same system. I was taking that same passion and creating my own system. When my educated dad learned that Kim and I were struggling financially, doing our best to set up our own educational system, he sent us these quotes. Scribbled across the top of the page of the quotes were these words: "Keep going. Love, Dad." Up until the moment, I never knew how much my educated dad hated the system and what it did to young people. But after this gesture of encouragement, things began to make sense. The passion was driving me. Then was the same passion that had driven him for years. It was just like my real dad, and I had unwittingly picked up the torch from him. I was a teacher at the core. Maybe that's why I hated the system so much. In hindsight, I had actually become both dads. From my rich dad, I learned the secrets of being a capitalist. From my highly educated dad, I inherited the passion for teaching. With this combination, I could now do something about the educational system. I didn't have the desire or ability to change the current system, but I did have the knowledge to create my own system. The years of training began to pay off. For years, my rich dad groomed me to become a person who created businesses and business systems. The business I set up in 1977 was a manufacturing company. We were one of the first companies to produce the nylon and Velcro surfer wallets that came in bright colors. We followed the product with the shoe pocket, a miniature wallet that was also made out of nylon and Velcro that attached to the shoelaces of running shoes. In 1978, jogging was a new craze, and runners always wanted a place to put their keys, monies, and ID cards. Our meteoric success was phenomenal. But soon, the passion for the product line and the business drifted away, began to weaken once my little company was pounded by foreign competition. Taiwan, South Korea, and Hong Kong were shipping products identical to mine and wiping out the markets we developed. Their prices were so low that there was no way we could actually compete. They were retailing products for less than it cost us to manufacturing them. Our little company was faced with a dilemma: fight them or join them. My partner and I realized we couldn't win the battle. The companies flooding the market with cheap products were too strong. A vote was taken and we decided to join them. The tragedy was that in order to stay afloat, we had to let go of most of our faithful and hardworking staff. That broke my heart. When I inspected the new factories we contracted with for our manufacturing in Korea and Taiwan, my soul died a little. The working conditions these young workers were forced into were cruel and inhumane. I saw 5 workers stacked, one on top of the other, in a space where we would only allow 1 worker. My conscience began to bother me deeply, not only for the workers we let go in America, but also for our new workers overseas. Although we had solved the financial problem of foreign competition and began to make a lot of money, my heart was no longer in the business. Consequently, the business began to suffer. Its spirit was gone because my spirit was gone. I no longer wanted to become rich if it meant exploiting so many low-paid workers. I began to think about educating people to become owners of business rather than employees of business. At the age of 32, I was beginning to become a teacher, but I didn't realize it at the time. The business began to decline, not due to the lack of systems, but to the lack of heart or passion. By the time Kim and I started out on our new business venture, the wallet company was gone. Downsizing. In 1983, I was invited to give a talk to the MBA class at the University of Hawaii. I gave them my views on job security. They didn't like what I had to say. In a few years, many of you will lose your jobs or be forced to work for less and less money with less and less security. Because my work caused me to travel all over the world, I witnessed firsthand the combined power of cheap labor and innovations from technology. I realized that a worker in Asia, Europe, Russia, or South America was really competing with workers in America. I knew the idea of high pay and a safe, secure job for workers and middle managers was an idea whose time had passed. Big companies would soon have to make cuts both in their numbers of employees and in the dollars they paid to workers, simply to be able to compete globally. I was never asked back. I was never asked back to the University of Hawaii. A few years later, though, the word downsizing became commonplace. Every time a big company merged with another company, workers became redundant and downsizing occurred. Every time the owners wanted to make their shareholders happy, a downsizing occurred. With each downsizing, I saw the people at the top get richer and richer, and the people at the bottom pay the price. Every time I heard someone say, I'm sending my child to a good school so she or he can get a good, safe, secure job, I cringed. Being prepared for a job is a good idea for the short term, but it's not enough for the long term. Slowly but surely, I was becoming a teacher. Build a system around your passion. Although my manufacturing company had turned around and was doing well again, my passion was gone. Rich Dad summed up my frustration when he said, school days are over, it's time to build a system around your heart. Build a system around your passion. Let the manufacturing company go and build what you know you must build. You've learned well from me, but you're still your father's son. You and your dad are teachers deep in your souls. Kim and I packed up everything and moved to California to learn new teaching methods so we could create a business around those methods. Before we could get the business off the ground, we ran out of money and were out on the street. It was that phone call to my rich dad, my wife standing by me, anger at myself, and a rekindling of the passion that got us out of the mess we were in. That's strong. Whew. It was that phone call to my rich dad, my wife standing by me, anger at myself, and a rekindling of the passion. That is what got us out of that mess that we were in. Soon, we were back to building a company. The company was an educational company using teaching methods that were almost the exact opposite of those used in traditional schools. Instead of asking students to sit still, we encouraged them to be active. Instead of teaching them via lecture, we taught them by playing games. Instead of being boring, we insisted our teachers to be fun. Instead of teachers, we sought out business people who actually started their own companies and could teach using our style of teaching. Instead of grading the students graded the teacher. If the teacher got a lousy grade, the teacher was either put through another intensive training program or asked to leave. Age, educational background, sex, and religious beliefs were not a criteria. All we asked for was a sincere desire to learn, and to learn quickly. We were eventually able to teach a year's worth of accounting in one day. Although we mainly taught adults, we had many teenagers learning right alongside highly paid, well-educated business executives. Instead of competing on tests, we asked them to cooperate on teams. Then we had a team take a test, competing against other teams taking the same test. Instead of striving for grades, we bet money with winner take all. The competition and desire to do well as a team was fierce. The teacher did not have to motivate the class. He or she just had to get out of the way once learning competition began. Instead of quiet at test time, there was yelling, screaming, laughter, and tears. People were excited about learning. They were turned on by learning, and they wanted to learn more. We focused on teaching just two subjects, entrepreneurship and investing, the B and I quadrants. The people who wanted to learn these subjects in our style of education showed up in droves. We did not advertise. Everything spread by word of mouth. The people who showed up were people who wanted to create jobs, not look for jobs. Once I made up my mind not to quit, that night at the phone booth, things began to move forward. In less than 5 years, we had a multi-million-dollar business with 11 offices throughout the world. We had built a new system of education and the market loved it. Our passion had made it happen, and because passion in a good system overcame fear and past programming. Our passion made it happen because passion in a good system overcomes fear and past programming. A teacher can be rich. Can. Whenever I hear teachers say they aren't paid enough, I feel for them. The irony is that they are a product of their own system. They look at being a teacher from the point of view of the E quadrant rather than the B or I quadrant. Remember, you can be anything you want to be in any of the quadrants, even a teacher. We can be anything we want. Most of us have the potential to be successful in all the quadrants. It all depends on how determined we are to be successful. As my rich dad said, passion builds businesses, not fear. The problem was the changing of quadrants is often found in our past conditioning. Many of us come from families where the emotion of fear was used as a prime motivator to get us to think and act in a certain way. For example, did you do your homework? If you don't do your homework, you'll flunk out of school and all your friends will laugh at you. If you keep making faces, your face will get stuck in that position. And the classic, if you don't get good grades, you won't have a safe, secure job with benefits. Put it in the comments if when you were growing up, you were motivated by fear, or you often heard things like this, like, hey, did you do your homework? If you don't do your homework, so-and-so blank, blank, blank will happen. Put it in the comments if that's something that you had to go through. Today, many people have gotten good grades, but there are fewer safe, secure jobs and even fewer with benefits like pensions. Many people, even those with good grades, need to mind their own business and not look for just a job where they will mind someone else's business. And he goes on to saying, it's really risky on the left side. I have many friends who still seek security through a job. Ironically, the march of technology continues at an ever-increasing pace to keep up in the job market. Each person will need to constantly be trained in the latest technology. If you're going to be re-educated anyway, why not spend some time educating yourself on the skills needed for the right side of the Cashflow Quadrant? If people could see what I see when I travel the world, they would not be looking for more security. Security is a myth. Learn something new and take on this brave new world. Don't hide from it. So true. I think that's also why I love to travel, because you get to see how other people live, how other cultures are raised or how they're actually put down. And some of the things one of the reasons why we actually have a place here in Mexico is because we're treated like royalty. Like, we can go anywhere we want and it's just a different vibe, but obviously it's completely different than living, let's say, in the States. The cost of living is way higher and you have to be doing something at a specific level to have all the flexibility that you want. And because right now, if you're watching this, if you're in a position where you can just literally migrate to a different country and just work and mind your own business, like Robert says, while still accumulating and building up your asset column and maybe taking, so like instead of having a condo overlooking the beach, we have a condo overlooking some garden, so it's like a little shift of environment, but you're able to grow and save in the right direction, save towards building your investments. So that's something that we've always done, and we're so grateful that like we started a company in Asia. Like we were able to save $250,000 in 2 years because we lived way below our means. Like we saved over 70% of our income, and we were just able to live really well, but also understand that all that can actually produce cash flow so we can retire. I don't think we'll ever retire, but like live a more comfortable life where we're not always depending on our job or depending on our business to take care of us, right? So if you have the opportunity to just change your environment and see where maybe your dollars or whatever currency you're currently holding can take you and push you in the better direction, do so. You have that opportunity. Don't think that you don't have options. You do. And I know like I have a lot of family members that maybe they're not in a position to just make that move. Well, if you really want it, go ahead and do it. Okay? You will always find a way if you have the right information, if you can understand the logistical part of it, you can do your due diligence, you can make it happen. Everyone makes it happen if you really want it. Okay? I believe in you. So do it. Okay? He's now going to go into it is more secure on the right side. The irony is that life is actually more secure on the right side of the cash flow quadrant. For example, if you have a secure system that produces more and more money with less and less work, then you really don't need a job or need to worry about losing your job. To make more money, simply expand the system and hire more people. I apply the same principle when I teach about expanding means rather than living below your means. Living below your means crushes the spirit, and I have always looked for ways to expand my means so that I can enjoy all that life has to offer. I love that because just as I was mentioning, like you can change your environment, but you don't have to change your means. Like we love nice things. We love having a condo that's filled with windows that brings a lot of light in, that we can have a great view and still hire help to prep all of our meals, clean the entire apartment, like come twice a week, do the dishes, like do what you got to do, the laundry, all of that, and even have a driver take us everywhere. Like what else do you want? And also we can do other stuff, but at the same time, like we don't have to think about those things anymore because we chose to go to other places. We chose to put ourselves in a position where now we can use the resources that we have, okay, and expand the system, hire more people, okay, apply the same principle, expand your means, okay, rather than crush your spirit. If you are in a place where you can't grow and expand and you feel like you're constantly trapped and it's hard to breathe, you got to move. You got to try new things. Okay? Don't be scared. Like people will accept you. People will come and they will greet you. Okay? We've experimented with Asia. We've experimented with Europe. We absolutely love Mexico. There's so many ways of doing it. So yeah, join the Billionaire Inner Circle because there's going to be so many amazing people in there that you're going to be like, whoa, you live where? And you do what? And there's no taxes where? So yeah, it's going to be awesome. Check it out in the description below. Let's continue, shall we? People who are high-level investors aren't concerned about the market going up or down because their knowledge allows them to make money either way. If there is a market crash or a depression in the next 30 years, many baby boomers will panic and lose much of their money they have set aside for retirement. If that happens in their old age, instead of retiring, they'll have to work for as long as they can. Professional investors are people who risk little of their money, their own money, and yet still make the highest returns. The people who know little about investing take the risks and earn the least return. From my point of view, all the risk is on the left side of the cash quadrant. Why is the left side more risky? If you can't read numbers, then you must take someone else's opinion. In that case of buying a house, your dad just blindly accepts your banker's opinion that his house is an asset. That is considered an opinion. Both Mike and me noticed his emphasis on the word blindly. Most people on the left side really do not need to be that good with financial numbers. But if you want to be successful on the right side, the numbers become your eyes. Numbers allow you to see what most people don't see, Rich Dad went on. You mean like Superman's X-ray vision, said Mike. Rich Dad chuckled and nodded. Exactly. He said, the ability to read numbers, financial statements, and financial systems with business systems gives you vision the mere mortals don't have. Even he laughed at that silliness. Having financial vision lowers your risk. Being financially blind increases your risk, but you only need that vision if you want to operate on the right side. People on the left side think in words. To be successful on the right side, especially the I quadrant, you must think in numbers. It's very risky trying to be an investor while still thinking predominantly in words. Ooh. Strong. Are you saying that people on the left side don't need to know anything about financial numbers, I asked? Well, for most of them, that's correct, Rich Dad said. As long as they're content to operate strictly within the confines of being an E or an S, then the numbers they learn in school are adequate. But if they want to survive on the right side, understanding financial numbers and systems become extremely crucial. If you want to build a small business, you do not need to master numbers. But if you want to build a large worldwide business, numbers become everything, not words. That is why so many large companies are often run by bean counters. Rich Dad continued his lessons. If you want to be successful on the right side when it comes to money, you must know the difference between the facts and opinions. You cannot blindly accept financial advice the way people on the left side do. You must know your numbers. You must know the facts. And the numbers tell you facts. So, who pays to take the risk? Besides the left side being risky, people on that side pay to take the risk. What do you mean? I asked. Doesn't everyone pay to take some risk? Well, no, not really. Not on the right side. Are you trying to say that people on the left side pay to take risk and people on the right side get paid to take risk? You know what? That's exactly what I'm saying. Rich Dad was smiling. That is the biggest difference between the left side and the right side. That is why the left side is riskier than the right. The people on the left side pay to take risks, and the people on the right side get paid to take the risk. Can you give me an example? I asked. Sure. If you buy shares of a stock in a company, who takes the financial risk? You or the company? I guess I do, I said, puzzled. And if I'm a medical insurance company and I insure your health to take on your health risk, do I pay you? No, I said. If they insure my health and they take that risk, I pay for it. That's right, said Rich Dad. I have yet to find an insurance company that will insure my health or accident risk and pay you for that privilege. But that's what people on the left side do. It's kind of confusing, said Mike. It still doesn't make sense. Rich Dad smiled. Once you better understand the right side, you'll begin to see the differences more clearly. Most people don't know there is a difference. They just assume that everything is risky and they pay for it. But as the years go on and you become more comfortable with your experience and education on the right side, your vision will improve and you begin to see what people on the left side cannot see. And you will understand why seeking security to avoid risk is the riskiest thing you can do. Seeking security to avoid risk is the riskiest thing you can do. You'll develop your own financial vision and not have to accept other people's opinions. You'll be able to see for yourself and know the difference between financial facts and financial opinions. It was a good day. In fact, it was one of the better lessons I could remember. It was great because it began to open my mind to things my eyes could not see. That's strong. Numbers reduce risk. Without those simple lessons from my Rich Dad, I doubt if I could have taken my passion and built the educational system of my dreams. Without his insistence on financial literacy and accuracy, I know I could not have invested as wisely with so little of my own money and earned such high returns. I also remember that the bigger the project and the faster you want to succeed, the more you need to be accurate. If you want to be rich slowly, or just work all your life and let someone else manage your money, then you do not need to be as accurate. The faster you want to get rich, the more accurate with numbers you must be. Indeed. The good news is that due to the advances in technology and new products, it is much easier today to learn the necessary skills for building your own system and quickly developing your financial literacy. And he ends it with this: you can go fast, but don't take any shortcuts. Okay? To reduce your taxes, buy a bigger house and get deeper into debt so you can write it off. Your home should be your largest investment. You'd better buy now because the prices will go up. Get rich slowly, live below your means. These are all opinions, okay? It's even harder. It's like hard to read those things. So he goes on to saying, if you take the time to study and learn about the subjects required for the right side of the cash flow quadrant, such as statements, if you take the time to study and learn about the subjects required for the right side of the cash flow quadrant, those statements that I just read, they just don't make any more sense. It might make sense to someone on the left side, but not to someone on the right. You can do anything you would like, go as fast as you like, make as much money as you like, but you have to pay the price. You can go quickly, but remember, there are no shortcuts. This book is not about answers. This book is about looking at financial challenges and objectives from a different point of view. It's not the one point of view. It's not that one point of view is better than the other. It's simply smarter to have more than one point of view. In reading the following chapters, you may begin looking at finances, business, and life from a different point of view. I love that. I absolutely love that so much. Wow. And I feel like we're about to enter a new realm within the book. Like, this was a very deep chapter where, you have to really understand the deeper understanding of who do you want to become? Do you want to be in the right side or on the left side? And if you want to be on the left side, then you have to understand those numbers, that dynamic, what it's required to be on the left. But if you want to be on the right, then you have to start developing the skill sets of looking at numbers as data points, as facts. You have to change that mindset. It's not what you say, it's what's on paper, what's black and white, what's without emotion. How does this make sense? How are the transactions logically connected? All of that is what he's prepping our mind to understand, so we can shift that perspective and go into the new mindset of, hey, I need to learn this to get to here so I can eventually be here. So I would love to know, what is your financial goal? Put it in the chat. Do you want to become financially independent by a certain age? Do you want to have a certain number of liquidity? Do you want to have a specific spectrum that you're using within your financial strategy to get you to point A to point B to point C, and over time all the way to the last point? I'm asking these questions and I'm like sharing what I just got out of it, because I know for a fact that we live right now, like today, in present day of when I'm actually shooting this video, times are changing. The more that we speak to people in different parts of the world, you start realizing, like, there's a lot of money to be made, and why shouldn't you? Like, why are you different? Why is that guy over there making money and you don't? Like, why is he going to sleep or she going to sleep so filled, and you might be struggling, or you might be worried, or you might be kind of empty inside? Look back at it. Reevaluate, take an audit of your passions, take an audit of what you're currently doing on a day-to-day basis. Is it crushing you? Is it crushing your spirit? With passion, that is how you build your business. It's not through just grinding it out. Like, you burn out that way. It's because you develop that passion. It's because you know where you're going and you want to get to that goal and that point, that you're like, okay, let's get up, let's do this. And you can be working 14-hour days and you're in the grind towards the path that you want, not someone else. So put it in the comments. Would love to know where you're at with things. We're super excited for what's to come, and also we're excited to dive into chapter 8, where we're going to be going into, I think everyone likes this one. How do you get rich? That's going to be the next chapter. And I encourage you to stay tuned, because not only is this going to be really powerful, but check out the Billionaire Inner Circle, because that is where we're going to dive deeper within all that we're actually learning through these books. And because these books are just timeless, it's going to be really, really powerful to just develop the skill sets and the assets that come within each book. So I'm so excited for this. I can literally talk about this all day if you haven't noticed, but I'm just so excited for everything that's going to come to your life, that's already beginning to grow in our life, and just the opportunity, it's the opportunity. So have a beautiful and blessed day, and take care. Make sure to hit like, subscribe, share with a friend, hit that bell, get notified. Talk to you soon.